White filter. Marito Leon. Oh, but you did. How about you? Wait to go. Yeah. So. Okay, all that cheesy. Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure. Like there was a show so he downloads like pictures of the t-shirt and you know, like for the past 6 months I think we went to showcase the brand. I think it was like
But is it cool enough? These are the products that we currently use. We use this one, we use this, and then we use masala water. And then we recently got this one, so we can't mix it with our other serums like the retinol and the, what's the other one? Retinol and what?
Good morning, everybody.
I know it's early and it's cold, but let's try this again. Hi, guys.
Hi. Good morning.
Deepening our understanding of publishing and the business of music when it comes to film. Kabelo Poligana, please can you join us on stage? Please give him a warm welcome.
Good morning, everyone. There's two copyrights that arise from music when a song is made. Song for sound recording, you have a song for the composition. Sound recording tends to refer to the specific actual recording. So if you were an artist, songwriter, composer, you go out there, you belt your heart out onto a song, and that gets recorded, that is considered to be the master, and that is usually licensed and managed by record labels, and that's its own separate right. Next is the composition. The composition refers specifically to the melody, the lyrics, construction of the song. We represent a vast variety of music publishers, all the way from the multinational globals like your Universal, your Sony, your Downtown, down to the more independents, which you may see some of today, that we've managed to put together a nice little showcase for you guys to get a taste of some local flavor. Because that does tend to be a majority, that is our member base. There's a lot of those local rights holders. Sync licensing is basically when a music rights holder tries to get succeeds rather in getting their music played in any sort of visual audio media. And this can be, there's many degrees in which this can happen. This can happen in film, this can happen in television, this can happen in gaming. When that happens, there's a few key considerations that speaking from the composer standpoint, that you might want to maybe be aware of, because this tends to go very blindly when people are sort of making lots of music and they just sort of want to just get it out there. That's the downside. And I say this hoping you guys can hear the frustration in my voice, because it's a huge industry issue where a lot of cue sheets are just, the CMOs just don't have them. Or they don't have them, they're not synced, or they're filled in poorly, that are necessary to be able to pay out to the correct rights holders. You know, young black woman, you know, it always puts a smile on my face to sort of see people come up like that, dude, because the stories happen, and truth be told, we don't always hear about them. And you need to hear about them because they inspire you to make you know that, guys, this can happen. Yeah, without further ado, we'll be having on Copter Music.
Hats at all stages of my career. I actually started off being a rapper, and I always tell people that if you want to get into anything in the music industry, I think that's the first job you should do, because rappers have a tough time from buying beats, not affording the beats, making the music, getting a producer who actually understands your sound, pushing the music, trying to go viral, that not working. Then people pay you with exposure and gigs. So I think that just sums up every single aspect of the music industry, just trying to put your stuff out there. So after doing that, I was working in Cape Town with rappers who were making music in studio. And aside from streams not making enough money for your music as an artist, you only really have gigs to make money. So how else then can you make a solid living from your music? If someone licenses your music on Netflix, for example, you can at least make from 30 grand up. And again, it's like everything you watch has music behind it. We're not in the silent film era, so again, there's a market for that, and you don't have to be a household name. So I was noticing that all of the music I was seeing was from major record labels. So then what happens to the underground talent in South Africa that's also making something that could really work with those scenes, right? So that's how Copter Music started. My first placement was on Blood and Water on Netflix. And then after that, I've done Marked, which came out on Thursday. It's actually #1 on Netflix right now, so you can see about it. And yeah, I've done some assistant supervision on The Wife Season 3, Red Ink, Shagailembe Season 1. We did some of the arrangements on the soundtrack. But ultimately, what you guys need to understand as creators is that you don't have to change your sound to get those placements. You just have to understand who your market is. So with Blood and Water, for example, I wasn't going to pitch them classical music. So then that is an opportunity for the rappers to shine. So that's the kind of music that you make. Get yourself a sync agent or music publisher. Those are the people who collect royalties then after your music has been placed, because that's also important. Registration. Otherwise, people are going to stream this show, and of course, if it's season 1, by the time season 2 comes out, even more people are going to go back. So if your music wasn't registered, you've lost all of that money, right? True. So yeah, we do all sorts of things. As Gabile was saying, there's commercial music, there's library music. For the filmmakers in the building, if you guys have low budgets, that's where you go in library music. Those rates don't change. You pay per 30 seconds if that's what you need. We also do that. We've collaborated with 2 international libraries called Fold Music and Standard Music, so that you guys have access to classical music and all of that other stuff. So that's under Capaso's rate. And then we also have local musicians like Ujenga, West Coast Wolves, indie rock. We've also got some rappers, Siko the Gift, just people who are also just trying to get their music out there. So if you are someone in marketing, or even if you have a YouTube channel, you can't just use people's stuff, it's gonna get taken down. We have that for you.
So my name is Ntokozo. I'm a hip hop artist known as SLK Coding, from Mortal Struggling Parents Publishing. So I am thrilled to be here today at the MPASA Showcase representing our publishing house. We have been dedicated to discovering and nurturing new talent, and I'm excited to share some of our latest works with you today. The songs I have chosen for this showcase represent the diversity and creativity for our publishing house, from song 1 to song 2 and song 3.
Is an independent music publishing company which was founded in 2002. We are dedicated to supporting our composers, authors, publishers, and managing their musical works. We represent some of South Africa's finest talents such as Booi, Mr. Jazzic, Buster 99, Fagro Deep, Sertral, and Aleria Piwe, just to name a few. Our services include licensing, royalty collection, and fee negotiation for the use of our catalog. We actively promote songs for advertising, film, and promotional campaigns while seeking out opportunities to maximize exposure.
So we are an independent publishing company, boutique firm. We represent a lot of smaller artists, upcoming composers and writers. We do have a lot of commercial music that has made major waves. So the work that we do is a lot of house, Afro-pop as well. So we have a lot of Amapiano in our catalog. And then since joining MPASA, we have seen that, look, a lot of the sound needs to be generated from the more upcoming guys. So we have branched into production music, and with that production music, we've also done quite a number of work. And even with that, you know, it's a growth stream, and we're getting into the film aspect of it because our music has been in commercials.
Had a chance to meet Ubaba Timbumkize, had a chance to meet Umzakimbul and so on. I produced one of the icons, Babe Babeka, Ubaba Umzakimbuli. In Mafamzi, we go by the tagline of saying that music is a way of life. We journey through the music, and then we connect through the emotions of sounds.
The film that I worked on a couple of years ago, it's a short film. It's arguably experimental. It has overtones of thriller to it.
My background is in filmmaking, and I saw the need that actually a lot of films don't get the attention that they actually deserve. But I then have to pair it with my actual work that I really love, which is film. And then that's how we birthed Sinema. People don't also get to understand who is within the ecosystem. So we have filmmakers who produce the work, right? And as well, we have like PR agencies. It's very hard to produce for a South African audience. We're very diverse, and it's very hard to actually get the right platforms for your actual film. And I think the reason why it's so important on finding your audience, especially when making your films, is to understand that you know, audiences have different preferences, right? And also, when you're building your film, or when you're creating your film, you should understand why you're making the film and who are you making it for.
As I'm just a girl. I'm a film graduate, so shout out Sinema for that. I think I was taking notes. I need to get my film skills up because I'm just social media and looking cutesy. But I'm a film graduate, as I said, but I wear a lot of hats.
My name is Renai. I'm a Venda woman. I'm hetero, cisgendered, neurotypical, able-bodied, and I'm a symphony according to my Instagram handle. Well, bio, sorry.
That is in the film space, music, art. Am I missing another pillar?
Culture.
And I think culture has become such a buzzword, but we take it quite literally because we represent youth culture. So anything that is cool, we literally find a way to platform it on our platform.
So how do we do this, right? As Anna mentioned, so there's two pillars to us. So iQhawe Media is the agency that houses iQhawe Magazine. So behind, also with the agency, what we do is we blend strategy, creativity, data to kind of like craft really great campaigns that speak to who we know, it being like young people and like this in the creative space. You can see now we have lighting, like things are like looking good, and like there's been so much progression from here up until this point. It was important for us to really like sow the seed in order for us to have this harvest, because without this, there would be nothing for us to develop.
Passion project to powerhouse, and I think that's Danaya's story speaks to that so well.
Today's experience is, what does it mean for Africa to lead in the digital art space? All authenticity begins at home. And that's where you always know that your ideas matter. When you think about digital art, you just think about something on your phone or on your laptop as a digital experience or a VR set. But what does the community look like? You know, how do I actually purchase a digital art piece and have it at home? Base of Usurper was to really create a space for that, because we are an ever-growing community of technology. It's changing every day. So how do we use that as a tool to actually bring together African stories within the digital landscape?
And social media era of spaces where there's a difference between, for example, owned media, rented media, and these medias. Where should we actually be focusing our archiving on? Because I believe that since we're talking about archiving, it then becomes important to then, when you're speaking about these libraries, saying these are the spaces that we should, because then there's a difference between. Actually, do people know the difference between rented and owned media before? Okay, so just so that I can, the reason why I'm asking this question, so there's in media, the different content called rented media, owned media. Yeah, we talk about rented media and owned media. When you're on social media, like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, that is a social media, is rented media, which means that if TikTok were to go down today, actually, if you were to post stuff on TikTok, specific things you can post on TikTok, you can't TikTok copyright. You posted a tweet on Twitter, on X. That is a rented media space. Whenever you're posting on that space, if that is the first space that you are posting that piece of media on, it is that platform's media. You're renting that media space to then put whatever it is that you have. If you build a website, or if you have your own blog, or if you have your own space from a digital perspective, that's owned media, because you have created that space. So if I have a website and I'm now putting my blog on that website, and that's the first place that I put my words on it, then it goes somewhere else. It is on an owned media space.
Do it at the personal level, you need to do it at the community level, and then at the national level. The reason why you need separation between those three is because remember that there's your likeness as yes, there are the things that you have produced. So there's a data set that's particular to you that you should be owning as well, that you should be compensated for by your community and by extension your country. So what tends to usually happen is that the archiving happens at a national level, but then also means that the ownership of that information is at a national level, whereas your communities and the individuals don't always benefit, which is what happens with your rented media. So we need to always make sure that as individuals first, we create our data sets and we archive them ourselves. So that there's an archive of my content, there's an archive of my likeness, there's an archive of my data. So if my data is going to be sold at a community or a national level, I get compensated first. Or if an international company comes in and their technology becomes commonplace within my community or within my country, I can still also make benefits of getting the compensation because I have ownership of my own data in my hands. Now this means that we need to make sure that our data isn't always held in your AI systems, in social media, things of that nature, which brings it back to the point that we need to be creating those things ourselves. We need our own ChatGPT, we need our own DeepSeek.
But I want to say welcome to all the kings and queens, she's and he's, theys and thems, human beings, and everybody in between. I'm Erratic Assassin, the hip hop therapist. But today I'm the hip hop organization that helps spotlight creatives in every sphere, in every aspect, from the visual to the music, to the writing, to every field you can touch on. And we had a lovely experience where they helped me throw an award show. And one of the awards we had was a cosplay of the year. And from that, Yaz was like, he wants to do something where we can highlight our own African icons, from our superstars to mythology to the characters and comics that we've created, that we can celebrate our own him. growing up as a kid, seeing it in your house and your TVs. But we have Steve-O dressed as Jerry Pele from the famous Mzini Wezinsizwa. So please welcome Steve-O, Jerry Pele down to the stage. Give him a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. That do your thing, my boy. Look at that, look at that.
I don't think this is fashion. I think this was like survival. Because Jerry Pele, what they did is, there was 5 men living in a hostel. They came from the rural areas. They decided to share one very small room. So in that very small room, it's people that come from different cultures. They decided, let's all meet up in this room. They all came to the big city of Johannesburg.
Hey girl, stretch yourself. Let's see. Show the people what you got. Show the people what you got. Give them a spin. Show them the song work. Woo!
I don't know who she is in the Marvel world.
Hi everybody. I am a comic book lover. I love comic books. I love anime, and of course, I mean, embodying a Black Panther character for me just feels like the most natural thing to do. Nakia is, Nakia is T'Challa's love interest, but in Earth 616, she turns into his nemesis and then works with Killmonger to essentially just destroy him.
Give us, hey, look at that. Wow. She wasn't there. Yeah. I myself too didn't know until today, so we're gonna ask, what is an Aziz butterfly? What inspired the look, and how did you come up with the whole, ensemble?
Thank you for that question. Hi everyone, my name is Hanti. So the theme today is African iconography and mythology. I'm a huge fan of mythology. And when I was presented with the opportunity to go African mythology, I said I have to take it. So I did a bit of research and I found the Aziza fairy in West African mythology. And they typically embody butterflies when they come into their human form.
Show us the force. Show us that nice girl. Yes. You know more about it. If not, Chelsea's here to tell us who she is and why she chose to dress up as a Shoka.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea, also Green. I'm dressed as Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars. I'm a really huge fan of her because when she was young, she was adopted by a powerful master and then became a Jedi. And not only that, then she became a leader who fights for resistance and for her people. And I just love her personality because she's very headstrong, she's powerful, and she's someone that's really relatable, and she has so many challenges that she continues to overcome and still insists on the goodness of the people.
From Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I leaned into the mythology aspect. Obviously, it's Mediterranean mythology, but heading into like Women's Month, I really wanted to highlight a strong female character. And I don't know if anyone here plays Assassin's Creed, but Cassandra's canonically the first female protagonist in the entire franchise. She's a woman that's driven by loss, and she tries to get vengeance, and in a time that didn't really celebrate women.
Do this, it's gonna be, you guys are a noisy bunch. I'm gonna point to the contestant, let you know, remind you of who they are, and you just make some noise for who you feel had the best costume cosplay, in your opinion, and then from there we'll have our winner. As Aziz from West African mythology, go on, take a shot. What do you want to say to the people? Any last closing words?
Thank you everyone. This poncho took me 15 days. Really happy to have you guys appreciate it, I can't lie. So thank you, and I'll see you next time. I'll see you at Comic Con.
I want to give one more big round of applause for our contestants. Shout out everyone listening.
Our managers manage the relationship between Nadia and the designer, being there every step of the way to ensure that together they create the most amazing design for Nadia and her fans. That one design will fit on t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies, sweatpants, shorts, and even caps as part of a collection, allowing Nadia to create 6 different revenue streams off one design. Once the magic is done, the merchandise goes live on Nadia's very own merchant page, which she then promotes to millions of her fans all over the world. She can rest assured that once an item is ordered from her page, that it will be picked, printed, packaged, and delivered to all her happy customers. Nadia can track all her sales in real time and receives all the tools she needs to enter the e-commerce market. Merchant, for the artists, for the fans.
Professionals, we have music producers, music managers, music marketing specialists, and in lockdown we were all working on a project that required artist merchandise, and we didn't realize how much of a grueling task it would be. It was insane, and we realized no wonder nobody has merch in South Africa. It's just so hard and it's so expensive. And so at that point we thought, is there anything we can do about it? Because artists sometimes, I mean, at that point we were making 100 t-shirts, and it costed us almost 50,000 rand to make 100 t-shirts. And mind you, that's just t-shirts, it's not hoodies, it's not caps, it's just t-shirts. And for an artist, you don't always know when that money's coming back. You don't have a salary that's coming in every month. So for you to invest that amount of money up front can be a bit of a task. So we really knew that something needed to give.
How you doing?
Hi.
So what was the feeling when you went to, when Aries approached you and you're like, oh wow, this went successful?
Yeah.
How did you guys feel? What was the feeling and what was your plan of action for afterwards once that thing happened?
Sure. So yeah, it was quite an experience for us. I don't think we were ready for the mass that, you know, Aries can bring. And when you know, he first started to merchant, we had the conversations and we did the design, we all were ready, and you know, we had a good idea of what we could do. And then he launched and the site crashed. Yeah. Day of, like I think it was up for about 10 minutes until it crashed because it just couldn't take the capacity, and it was extremely stressful because for us it was a launch of the company and it was huge. He found it funny. He was like, oh, you know, we crashed the site. But you know, it wasn't funny for us. It was bad. And people were looking at us and like checking to see if it was gonna go right. So it took us about 2 days to fix that. We had to go to our web developers and get them to add more bandwidth to the site because this traffic was just too massive.
Typically, you want to have in your aesthetic. We understand and get it. We are so about having your brand be exactly what you want it to be, as opposed to like when you go to somebody that doesn't care as much. So that saved us a lot in being able to deal with a lot of artists at a time.
Dumela. Hello, how are you? Good. Yeah. My name is Poloho Jody Judah Solomon Mataboh. And I work for J. Jody and Revenge Club Records. When music plays and I hear this huge roaring voice, and it's just a voice as if it's speaking on top of like jazzy instrumentals and just dope music, you know what I mean? I didn't understand it. I was listening to Andreas Vollenbeider, Anita Baker. I was listening to strong stuff. So I was in the Northwest. I was in Mututu at that time. You probably don't even know where that is. Because it's just a village where Kyle was your friend. Hey, what's up, man? You've been eating a lot of grass this week, man. You know what I mean? But that's what it is. And from there, it spiraled into me trying to find out more about this rap music that he just introduced me to, right? And so the journey started. I started digging. I'm finding out that there's more of this Tupac fella. There's other guys as well that do the same thing, that have these roaring voices. Who knows where the software is being downloaded? He's the one with the dynamic mic and the stocking, and he says, "Yeah, I make music. Come record at my house." You know what I mean? And so I think that's where I professionally started making music, in my head at least, because I was really being serious about it, and that's what it is. For you to get to a certain point, you need a little bit of delusion. So I was delusional enough to think that I might actually make this work, right? My first single ever was called In My Shoes. You know, decent beat from TK Stacks, by the way. And I was out there and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna push this song to my friends at school, because this is fire. And he mixed and mastered it. It was terrible quality. Terrible, disgusting. I don't want to hear the song. Don't ever play the song for me. So, artist, you rely on feeling, creativity, just vibes, you know what I mean? But everything that you sell and you start selling has structure. And so when we got signed at Ambitious Records in 2015, that's what I learned as well. There was a lot of structure, there was a lot of system. And so we had to learn that. We had to put that to good use now. Like, okay, cool. We're doing all this art, but how do we sell it? How is everything structured? Who's gonna tell us wake up at 7 for the interview? Who's checking the Risa stuff? Who's checking the Samro stuff? Capasso?
Having me. It's an absolute honor to be part of the show and be part of the change and just shifting the culture, guys. Shout out. And shout out to everyone who's here too. Okay, cool. So for those who don't know me, I go by the name Uzinzile Swisi. I'm your favorite creative director, I'm your favorite artist manager, and your favorite girl, essentially. If you're a beat maker, vocalist, or graphic designer or videographer, you don't create for likes. You create because it's in your bones. Because when the groove hits you, you can't stop it. It's like something spiritual. But here's the truth. Talent isn't always enough. You can drop a fire track tomorrow, and it's buried. No budget, no push, no plan. You feel the weight of trying to do everything, create, mix, design, market, pray.
Hello. I feel like a youth pastor. Yeah, my name is Booi. I'm a filmmaker, writer, director. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a personal story, right? I used to have these recurrent dreams when I was young. Standing in a puddle of water, like a swamp, the water would come up to my knees. And there would be this figure, and the figure would stand in the distance and stare at me. Now the figure had a funny looking head. It was like you know, like a popcorn when it's half popped. It's kind of like open, but it's like not really. It was kind of like bulging in different places in different ways. And in this dream, I remember that the thing would whisper to me. It would start whispering my ears and start to say things to me. I began to experience this feeling in my spirit. I'm a God-fearing man, mind you. I love Jesus. So, in the name of Jesus, we rebuke that spirit. And leans over and starts to whisper in my ear. And he says something that terrifies me to this day. He says, I see you. And he falls back to sleep, like nothing happened. And I remember being so terrified. I was like, I don't know what to do. What's happening? I started peeing my pants. I was 14 years old. I peed my pants with the bed wet. And what I found was that it was just another dream. Another dream that I just woke up from. You see, friends? It's interesting how someone can stand up here with a microphone and a hyper-dramatic song on a slot at an incredible film convention, shout out Yaz. They tell you lies. Tell you about a basic lie, exaggerate facts about create a scenario that didn't exist and convince you. And something happens inside of you. Something happens that actualizes those words, makes them a sound, a vision, an emotion. And nerdism, you know, the Star Wars, the Lord of the Rings, all of these worlds that were outside of the world that we live in ourselves. And my mind would be blown by this idea of like, how is there a spaceship in space? Like, what? You know, and I very soon began to realize that all of these things that I'm watching, all of these movies that I enjoy, and all of these characters who I connect with, none of them look like me. None of them sound like me. None of them are even from where I came from, or where I come from. Like, there was a point in my life where I was like, bro, I'm never going to New York, because New York, everything happens there. The alien invasions, and the end of the world. And it seems like, hey, those guys need Sodom and Gomorrah low key, but hey, it's not my business. But because of this, I realized very young that there was something that had to be done by this. So myself, my twin sister, and 3 of my best friends, Dumisa Rankin, Josh, and John, we got together and we started making these really immersive stories. We used Nokia, and essentially what the series was, or this content series that I would post these very crazy, rambunctious videos was, is that it would express the idea that this is what I want to make, but it was also a calling card for other filmmakers that wanted to make sci-fi films as well, which I found to be so many more people than I could even imagine. I got messages from people from Congo, from Nigeria, from Ethiopia, Ghanaian VFX artists, directors, cinematographers, some of the craziest artists that I personally hadn't seen, realizing that they all wanted to be part of this bubble that was just something different, a new exploration that they wanted to be a part of. And that made me excited because that meant there was an infinite amount of ideas and a world of people who six different characters. And the idea is to establish the premise of the sci-fi world we're trying to create. Because a lot of what people believe sci-fi is this big, major spaceship, but the reality of what it is that it's in these intimate moments, it's in the in-betweens, it's the canvas. So this series is a series that I want to kind of take forward that goes beyond me, where we as a team, we take on scripts from other filmmakers that want to be in this world and establish a way for this to be the calling card that they use for other projects for themselves that they can develop and grow.
Before anything else, like how I design my world, how I design how I approach my music, to the visual elements, to what you associate me with, and what you walk away from the music with in terms of engagement. As in, you don't just get a really good song, because all my songs are good. All of them are good, all of them are great, you gotta enjoy them, of course. But then there's an aspect of it where it's like, what is the message behind it? What is he saying? How does he look when he's presenting this? And why? And that's the part I like to dwell in. Let me also look at this. That's the part I like to dwell in. And the imagery I used to encompass that message was basically a blank face approach. So it was like, blank face literally is like the face is here, but without the eyes, without the nose, without the mouth, without, because I had to learn who I was and find myself in the world and understanding who I am personally also, besides like, what's my role in society? And to relay that concept of home, I was like, okay, a color of warmth. I was like, red, it's urgent and it's very warm. I was like, okay, that's what we're gonna lean into. And I was so happy when I did that. I was like, I feel like I'm doing something here. And then it led to, because I'm not very clear on what I'm trying to find out about myself in terms of my personality and and that's why home was what it was. Yo, I'm not gonna tell you the third one, the second one matters right now. I'm ready. You see the eye, you see the badge, you see tag. You're all high and look under your seats. Storytelling to keep your listeners engaged and relay a message that could be relayed when blunt, but more entertaining relayed through fiction. Yeah. That's my own definition right now. I got it. But yeah, so the world, just to keep everybody engaged beyond what the music is. Feel me? So this world that I built, my world. Oh yeah, this is one. Oh yeah, I did that. So yes, that's what world building is. The main aspect of storytelling is to keep listeners engaged beyond just the one medium you offer. And the one medium I offer, my bread and butter is music. I rap, I perform for you. So I really just wanted to lean into, okay, we have the music, but it's more fun going, here's my visual identity company, to speak on the messaging of how capitalism is at a crazy place right now. And they're all watching us. And the information is everywhere. But it's okay, because we still gotta do our simple 9-to-5s. And on top of that, at the corporate entity, we're still battling the concept of, oh, there's AI. Oh no. So we use the whole, America starts with an A, and the logos are A. I wanted to make sure I cross off multiple layers of messaging beyond my own of the corporate aspect. So then another aspect was they watching us, all the corporations, all the ads, all the you feel me? All over. All my cover arts, all my artist profiles on Apple Music, Spotify, you name it, have pop-up ads on my previous covers. And I advertise my friends' music actually, because stream my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the corporates. Yeah, and that's one way to relay that. And another way the world looking allows me to continue the story from music to a visual aspect on these DSPs and the short form and music videos as well, is now I get to build merch around the world itself of what the message is.
Big and dream big. He's a doer and excited to hear what's to come on your creative journey.
Sorry to say. I'm just thinking now, I'm like, oh, I was listening to these two guys present, and like, you know, because I was like trying to do this thing where you speak from the heart type shit. That's why I had to take this off. That's why I had to get this piece today. Because when this is my third engagement with BAI HEATSKRS this year, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I want to speak to. They actually said I need to speak about. So I'm making. I'm just going to run through it because they've asked me to come and speak about what I'm working on. And so basically, the way I'm positioning myself as a filmmaker, I'm a filmmaker, is that I've got this trilogy of films that I'm making on my take of the issues I take with it. The second part of that trilogy is The Passage, which is currently obviously doing this festival around, was shown at BAI HEATSKRS a few months ago. And now they're like, yo bro, why don't you speak to us about your third one? This is saying that we really need to be intentional about building because the industry is changing, you know, and what it's going to look like within the next 5 to 10 years from right now is going to be determined by this moment right now. That pitch that you just gave, that session that you just gave, you know?
Very, very difficult. It has to be very, very difficult because it's worth it. You know what I mean? You guys coming out the way that you did, sitting down, even though it feels like every now and again, I could have been watching Skim's out. You know what I mean? It's very important that you did this because there's someone in this room who's sitting down, who's watching, you know, Abo, who's watching Tyson, who's watching but yeah, there's somebody in the crowd who's watching all those people and telling themselves that, you know what, I think that could be me. So everybody clap for that person.
Sinzindele. Artist who's done most of these illustrations, all of these illustrations. He's a great talent. I consider him like the Banksy of South Africa. Shout out. Shout out to Ntokozo Cat. What's up?
In the land of the parent son, a single step.
I was like sitting at home, living in my mom's all incredible. You know, I saw so much of humanity in them. They were funny, they were fierce, they were great fighters, great lovers, great, you know, everything. I could see their whole lives happen in front of me. And I didn't get to see that kind of perspective, you know, on television and etc. And my partner was that. So I definitely wanted to do a mythical story. I grew up on like comic books and stuff, so I wanted to do something rich and interesting. And at the time, the Boko Haram incident happened, you know, when the girls got kidnapped, and I was just like, you know, all due respect to Nigeria, but if a bunch of girls were kidnapped here in South Africa and the police failed, and the army failed to fetch them, Abu Mama would roll up their dresses before I met Cats, this was before I met Sims and the team. We did a treatment, and I started writing it out and putting these characters by taking like pictures from everywhere. And I sent it out, and we raised 200 million rand to do a show.
Nice. Wow.
Right? And it was just based on experience to play the roles. But I knew that they weren't going to allow us to do that because they always say we don't bring, you know, bums on seats. So I knew we needed a big star to attach to this project who kind of fit that thing, born and raised in South Africa. So as I was doing that, I said, hey, the only person I can think of was Shasha.
Yeah.
You know, and as I was working the story, we're developing it with Tabiso Mabana, DC, Marvel, you name it, all of them. But only like one was willing to let us retain our IP, and that was Dark Horse Comics. And so we went with them and did a deal with them. And the deal is so amazing because Dark Horse Comics comes from Marvel and DC artists who fought ripped off. So they started a company where people who are in there keep IP. So after 5 years with my business partner, Mlaba, who was not here, he brokered an incredible deal. So after a certain amount of years, everything comes back to us. It doesn't matter what happens. They have 5 years to produce a TV show.
Tabo gives me a call and says, hey, we're looking for a production manager. And I was like, well, I was joking. I was a lot more enthusiastic than that. But what had happened, fortunately, the year prior to that, was that I was working on another independent comic sort of based animation thing, and it was supposed to go on and be a children's show, and I was looking for graphics designers and for illustrators. And I had found another friend had made an online comic book, which is how I know cats. Wow. Texture, color, line work, depth of field, like literally, this is the most visceral. And when you guys do get the copy, you'll see the level of work we're talking about, but it feels like he's the only person who could make it happen.
A lot better, like just kind of muting everything else and just doing the work. So the amount of times it took them just to try and get in contact with me, by the time Tabo even called, it was a conversation of, I heard him, I was like, I hear you, Doug. I'm just not sure if maybe I'll have the capacity to I'm doing these commissions, But the one thing that made me, like outside of like even just knowing Sims and meeting through Mount Olympus with Menzi, shout out to Menzi Miller, incredible talent in terms of writing and directing, and came up with the story of Mount Olympus, is hearing Tabo and Tabiso. We had a video call and they explained the story, and I was like, this is the type of thing that aesthetics, the principles and stories that we can tell and create like creator-owned IPs. Because pitching this not just as even a comic book, but being able to see even further beyond in terms of like how we can branch out as transmedia projects.
We created a world, an alternate version of Africa. We call it Ndao. And here all the great historical figures of Africa exist in the same time. You name it, and also the villains as well, you know. So Mantatisi and Mujaji, all of them live in the same time, right? And also the references, and what I want you to see here is the references we made to Angola, her weapon designs. This is the comic book treatment. We took traditional Angolan wear, Angolan stuff, and that really affected her character design quite drastically. A lot of research, I'm talking about years of research. Mantatisi, from what you know, Mahoba people, which is now known as Lesotho, right? So as you can see, we've referenced a lot of Lesotho culture, and the end-up design really represented that, you know. I got these pictures and collected them over time, over Instagram, and etc. This is Nahanda, Booi Nahanda. Anyone from Zimbabwe might know Booi Nahanda. Booi Nahanda is a warrior woman who was called a witch. She was called Satanistic and etc. because she believed in her traditional beliefs. An Angolan mythical creature who looks like the most beautiful boy you've ever seen. Beautiful men, like they're beautiful, like so beautiful it's distracting. And they go to rivers and get young girls to come towards them, and then they turn into were hyenas and devour them. Right? And I love that idea. I love this idea of this absolutely beautiful African men, because that's another thing, is like defining beauty in these worlds. How do we look like in like, you know, a rest? So it was so beautiful to take that and turn the element. And so Boko Haram kind of represented in this element like this. This is how I drew the comic book. This is how I wrote the comic book. If you've never seen our comic book been written, this is it. This is like years of intense research. I know so much about this continent. I know so much about the languages, the people. I know so much texture. I've had to really understand it. If you look... if you can see the king, because there's a war happening in the background, the king allows refugees to come into this place, and everyone blames the refugees. And I am a very big sort of like xenophobia irks me. It really disturbs me deeply, because the question that has happened a lot is how come a few colonizers were able to conquer so many people? Not be possible. So for me, the idea of xenophobia, of like adhering to these lines that separate us so we are easy to divide, it irks me. In the story, I literally use the word gwere in here. And I have the guys blaming, as these soldiers are saying, it's like, it's these gwere who've taken our girls. So taking a very contemporary problem and putting it there, being able to sort of speak about my sort of propaganda with the help of these great artists. This is what we do with the art here, you know, is to be able to discuss real African issues in a very beautifully illustrated way. I'm going back. Oh, is that it? Am I done there? Cool. Organism. And think of that. So me and Kat, I was like, Kat, no matter what happens, I don't want to see anybody riding on the back of an animal. The animals in this world have to be sort of treated equally with the same respect we show the animals. So we spoke about the sky boats. I don't know if you want to just expand about the sky boats.
Oh yeah, because like instead of like seeing animals like being used for like industrial purposes, is actually just, it inspires us as well to come up with new ideas within those constraints into imagining like the industrial environment that these characters are going to live in. And that means, oh yeah, we can embrace more of the Afro-futuristic elements. And this gives us like a catalyst to inspire us to even design vehicles, technology.
Because that is one of the biggest conferences, and I'm only referencing the word specifically because it's one of the biggest distributors or places where you can take and cultivate a fandom, right? And fans are important because they are the people who, when you are not in the room, they are the advocates of your work, right? So people introduce these ideas to one another at conventions like the one we're at now, or like Comic-Con. But what's nice about a convention, or what's great about merchandising at that convention, is that you give someone something that they can feel and touch and hold with their hand.
We've done so many new and insightful things, and I just want to tell you that this is just the beginning. Because our festival director is a visionary, and all he ever does is expand. A huge shout out to you, Yanzo, for putting this together, for having a vision, Boma 10 years ago, to start the broadcast show.
Change, because the creatives sitting in this room, we're about to,
it's really take over the race. A special